Hey up! I'm the Yorkshire Time Lord, and this is my alternate personality, the Yorkshire Avenger, with my review of Miss Marvel. Okay, so I really enjoyed Miss Marvel. I think Disney have just been really knocking it out of the park with Marvel Disney Plus shows. Miss Marvel is such a great Marvel series. It basically goes to this high school comedy vibe, and the superhero antics don't really feel as important as they would in any other Marvel show. But I quite like that really, because it gives a bit of a breather from some of the more sort of heavy hitting stuff like Moon Knight and WandaVision. So it's nice to have a series that just wants to have fun. It reminded me a bit of the Spider-Man films in a sense, such as Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home and No Way Home, in that it's focusing more on the sort of day-to-day life of a teenager, and you get to see more of the relationships with their loved ones. Very similar to sort of Tom Holland as Peter Parker and his relationship with Aunt May. I quite likes that they place more focus on Kamala Khan, who she is as a person and her dynamics of her family. And I like that we get to see some of her Muslim background as well, and her Muslim family, because that's something that's not actually been seen in the MCU to date. So it makes the show feel a bit fresh and a bit different and a bit new. The fact that we get to see this, character who is going through different experiences to other people in the MCU. Those were the elements that I'd say I probably enjoyed the most from Ms. Marvel. The exploration of the character of Kamala Khan and her relationships, with her family, and her Muslim background. I thought those were really good. And I like as well that it explored the Indian partition, because it's not something that I really know much about. I watched obviously there was a Doctor Who episode about it called Demons of the Punjab, which I greatly enjoyed. And it just seems like such a horrific part of world history, and it's great to see it explored more in mainstream media. It's crazy to think what they went through back then. And it must have been really quite scary. I like that as well, that Kamala was actually the one that helped her grandmother as well, which is pretty crazy. She actually helped her grandmother during all that, because she essentially went back in time because of a bangle, and she used her powers to help guide her grandmother to the train, which I think was just like a really quite a lovely moment. And the show has a really good sort of love triangle going on as well between Kamala, Bruno, Cameron, and the Red Dagger. So Bruno I'm going to talk about first. Now there is another Disney prophecy that says let's not talk about Bruno, but I think in regards to Ms. Marvel it's definitely safe to talk about Bruno in this context. So I think that's fair enough. He's played by Matt Lintz in this series, and I think he just does a really good job. It seems like this really kind of socially awkward, tech-savvy teenager, a bit similar to Peter Parker, and it doesn't really surprise me that it came out that he was originally going to play Marvel Studios' Peter Parker, because I can imagine him in that part. He has this very similar kind of nervous energy to Tom Holland, which is really endearing to watch, and I really like his relationship with Kamala. And then you've got Cameron as well, played by Wish Summer, who I think is really good in that part. I think he's a bit more confident than Bruno, and you get the sense that he knows a bit more what he's doing around girls. So obviously he ends up bagging Kamala Khan, and Bruno ends up left in the dirt. But I quite like his character, and I quite like how they show him to be a person who's obviously quite protective over Kamala, and he's sort of giving her driving lessons and stuff as well. I quite like him. He's quite a likeable presence, I think, throughout the series. And I like that when he gets his powers, they have Bruno trying to help him as well, like how he was trying to help Kamala with her powers. It's quite nice that he has that side to him, Bruno, where he's willing to help those that are in trouble, and he'll do all he can to assist them. And then you've got Red Dagger, played by Aramis Knight. That's quite a funny surname, really, because it reminds me of Michael Knight from Knight Rider. Now, I don't think it's a relation to David Hasselhoff somehow, but it does make me laugh because it really does remind me of Michael Knight from Knight Rider. But yeah, I really, really like him, and I like how Red Dagger has got this sort of mentor relationship going on with Kamala Khan. He essentially acts as a mentor for her, with her as a mentee, sort of guiding her through her recent discoveries and, basically her new life as a vigilante. You get the sense that Red Dagger's been through a few dangerous situations himself, and so he knows how to deal with some of these sort of darker corners of the Marvel universe. So yeah, I really like the way that he guides her through it and acts as that mentor figure to Kamala Khan as she learns more about herself and who she is, and becomes more involved in the superhero part of her life. I think a weaker part of the series is the villains, because I don't really think the villains are quite so good in Miss Marvel. You've got the clandestines, which, yeah, they're just kind of your generic super villains, really. They want to return home, and by returning home, they will destroy the Earth, but they don't care. It's, very generic. They don't really do much to set themselves apart from other MCU villains, and yeah, they don't really make much of an impression, really. I wasn't all that bothered when they basically snuff it in the 5th episode. And then you got Damage Control as well, who I would say are slightly better. They do have the advantage that they first appeared in No Way Home, but they weren't really a major focus in No Way Home, and they were a bit of a bigger focus here. So, I think they do have a bit of an advantage in that sense, but yeah, they're good in that they are a bit different from other villains in the MCU, in that they're more of this kind of shady organisation that are dealing with, superpowered threats, trying to bring them in and, stop them causing what they see as havoc. But yeah, I think they are better than the clandestines, really, but not by much, to be honest. I do like the way that Kamala and her friends defeated them. I thought it was a really funny kind of Home Alone type sequence where they're using softballs and science experiments basically to overthrow them. And you see him covered in his foam and things like that. I thought it was a really brilliant, almost Home Alone-esque sequence. That really, really funny way to deal with the Damage Control team. I do quite like Kamala's powers in the show. Now, I know they are different from the comics. In the comics, Kamala Khan, basically, her powers are a bit similar to Reed Richards, in that she can stretch her body and she can, sort of change her shape, so she can take the shape of a ball and things like that. Whereas here, it's more about sort of manipulating light in a sense. She can create these sort of light platforms and, create these light constructs with her powers, a bit similar to the Green Lantern. But I do like both powers. I think they are quite cool. They're quite, I don't really mind that change, really. They work quite well, I think, in the context of the series. And they're a bit kind of Super Mario, which is quite funny, really. Just creating these platforms and jumping from platform to platform. It reminds me a bit of Super Mario jumping on Goombas and from platform to platform in the Super Mario game series. You could just imagine Kamala Khan getting trapped in Super Mario Jumanji style and jumping from platform to platform in a Super Mario game. That's quite funny to imagine as a crossover. But yeah, and she does still have like the embiggen powers in the comics as well. Now that was a really, really neat moment when she actually says embiggen in a series, which is a line directly from the comics, and she sort of, she takes on this giant formation like in the comics. That was a really, really cool moment. I really, really like that the shoulder, sort of growing big like in the comics. And it makes me want to see her team up with Ant-Man. Because I think it would be really, really cool to see her and Scott Lang's Ant-Man team up together and have them both, go into their giant formations. Could you imagine them stomping around New York like a sort of King Kong and Godzilla in the MCU? That would be quite a sight, and the visual effects, God, it would be stunning. Because the special effects in this show are really great, and they're great in the Ant-Man films as well. So it would be really stunning to watch. Now, obviously, the first hero that Kamala Khan is going to meet is Carol Danvers, which would be in the film The Marvels, which is due to come out next year. And we do get a post-credit scene, which basically ties into The Marvels, where Carol Danvers and and Kamala Khan appeared to switch places. And that really took me by surprise. I was like, oh my god, what's happening here? Is this some kind of weird body swap thing, like Freaky Friday? But I don't think it is. I think they've basically just swapped places. I don't think they're in each other's bodies. I think they've just swapped places, and basically Kamala Khan's wherever Carol Danvers was, and Carol Danvers is in Kamala Khan's bedroom. So maybe a bit more similar to Trading Places, where they don't swap bodies as such, but they swap lives in a sense, which would be quite interesting to see. To see how, Kamala Khan deals in a space setting, and the awkwardness of Carol Danvers in a teenager's bedroom and a teenager who fantasises about her as well. That could be really, really awkward, and Marvel could really play that for laughs. And another thing that I'm not really so fond of about the show is the fact that they've changed her origins. Now, at first, when Bruno said mutation, I kind of thought, well, it's vague enough that they could say that she's an Inhuman later down the line. But Iman Vellani, who is absolutely fantastic as Kamala Khan throughout this series, by the way, she's just such a natural fit for Kamala Khan. And it feels like she was born to play that role, a bit like Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Such a perfect fit. But yeah, I read that in a Reddit question and answer session that she confirmed that Kamala Khan is the first mutant. So it does seem like she is a mutant, unfortunately. Which, yeah, I'm not really a fan of. I'd rather have stuck to how she was in the comics and revealed her to be an Inhuman. Because I really, really wanted to see Kamala Khan meet Daisy Johnson from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it would have been great to see those two meet. And for Daisy to explain that she's, that Kamala is a Inhuman, to sort of guide Kamala through her Inhuman phase, a bit like her mum Jaying did in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Daisy. I thought that would have been, really nice to see. I mean, hopefully they can find a way to justify it so that the change doesn't seem so bad. But at this moment in time, I'm not really a fan of it. And I would have preferred them to keep her an Inhuman, like in the comics. Anyway, what do you think about Ms. Marvel? Do you like the show? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.